Hello everyone, I'm so glad to be back on Deep Truth, Deep Impact. And because of the restrictions on Earth Changes channel, earthquakes will now be here on Deep Truth, Deep Impact until about the first or second week of February. So in this video, we're going to cover a lot of areas. I noticed a very large uptick in earthquakes over the last few days. And we're going to focus on the Baja Peninsula, what is taking place there in that region. But also, we're going to focus on the New Madrid. A number of earthquakes is taking place in that location, as well as what's going on in diverse places, the Carolinas. But also, we're going to look at Mount Rainier in detail. I'm going to bring it up close for you because a lot of indications are showing up there. Also, we're going to look at where the hypothermal vents are taking place, and we're going to watch a video that this channel did back in February of 2021 to educate people on hypothermal vents. I think it's very important. We're also going to look at the regions of Alaska and Hawaii, what's taking place there. Also, a lot of indications are showing up, as you can see, at 4.6 just north of Japan. And also, we're going to cover the Philippines and that region, as well as what's going on in Indonesia and Malaysia. We're also going to be looking at what's going on with New Zealand, as well as New Guinea, South America. And as I stated last week, we're going to be focusing on a lot of areas, but basically what's taking place in this region. I made a statement that I'm looking for indications to start going west and east, and that's what's happening. And then what took place with the magnetic north area, a 4.2 in that region. And we're going to look at it in detail. Also, we're going to go to the magnetic north's current position. So there's a lot happening. We're also going to cover the Mediterranean and also what took place in Turkey. We're going to look at Iraq again, Iran, Iraq area. But a lot's going on. And I was really shocked when I saw these new earthquakes. And we're going to look at also a different video. I'm going to take you here. This is the real Precursor channel on Patreon. And the link will be in the description box. Become a patriot. So you can watch these videos. It is private. And this is part 8. As you can read there. I'm not going to say the words for a number of reasons. But also, the reason I'm showing this, I want people to understand and be aware of these certain events. This is part 1. I suggest you start at part 1 and then part 2. And keep them in order because it's orchestrated to go in order to understand what's happening. This is a very good one. A Strange Document explains everything. Also, the spiritual realm, dark forces explained. The hidden truth is right before your eyes. Part 6, different opinions of, And part 7, the evidence is in the, that word as well, right? And then the new one, part 8, prolonged, detention. But the real precursor is very important. As you can see there, it's also private. Okay, so you're going to have to set up an email and an account, but you can also watch the introduction. It's very important to watch the introduction, and this is it here on YouTube on the Real Precursor channel that will guide you to Patreon. So let's start the video dealing with the earthquakes. So we're going to start out at the current position of the magnetic north, which is here. A few weeks ago I made an estimate where we're going to be, and I did come into the estimate approximately. And this month it moved 5.18 miles. And the estimate for November 2021 was this area. And basically, I only missed it approximately by 2 miles. Let me back this up. 1.85 actually, because this is in an angle, and I'm going to bring it around so you can see what I'm talking about. There. Okay. So this was the estimate that I did about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's about 1.8 miles, should I say 1.7, 1.8 miles approximately in this area here to cover this area. And that was about 4 months ago, so that's not bad because it's very inconsistent. As you know, sometimes it speeds up and sometimes it slowed down somewhat. But that was the estimate right there, the reference mark. And I got pretty close. That was 4 months ago. So I'm very thorough. I'm pretty close to what's happening with the magnetic north. But that's our current position. And as you know, what I'm concerned about is basically April of 2023. We're going to be at the 40-degree mark. And this is when the Earth will go through crust displacement. And it's difficult. It's similar to what happened with, do you remember the mammoth that was frozen in Siberia? I believe I'm going to do a video on that, maybe later on this week, to cover that. But within 24 to 48 hours, that mammoth had vegetation in its system and it ended up in Siberia, frozen. And also, if you may not remember, I'm sure some of you are not aware, but over here in Utah, I'm going to show you the area, if that's okay. This region right here in Utah, I'm going to bring it in to show you. I'm going to pull this back up to the north. But in this area right here, approximately, in this area here also, but you can't go into that area because it's military. This is where Homeland Security and the national security area has its own region right here. But this is a canyon where they found thousands of saber-toothed tigers and mammoth that was slammed up by the tsunami and the water that came in, approximately these areas. Here and along these canyons here. As you can see, the water could come in here, and this is approximately the area that they found the saber-toothed tigers and the mammoth. So back to the magnetic north, I want to show you something before we get started. Now, this occurred back in August, right here, a magnitude 4.5, and then another one in August, a 4.6, October, a 4.7, September, a 4.3, and a 5.1 in September. And right here in August, we had another one that was a 4.8. So what I'm looking at is this area here. It's getting bigger and bigger on the earthquakes, as you can see in this area. And from here to here covers about 900 miles. But I'm concerned that we're going to see more and more earthquakes, probably from that region and following this path here. Now this is Siberia over here. I'm going to flip this around so you can see a little bit better what I'm talking about and what I'm trying to present to you. Okay? Here's Siberia. They had a 4.7 in September. And right here is the new one that occurred November the 19th, a 4.2 in that region. As you can see right here. Now this is a major fault line that runs right through here. Okay, you can see it and how it changes. So the earthquakes are basically following this fault line. This is what I'm concerned about, because it goes right through here and it ends up in here in this area. So something's going on there, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm very concerned about it, because now November the 19th we had one right there. Okay, so I'm predicting what we're going to see is another earthquake on this fault line right here in this area, and probably another one right here, but right here is when they change. Okay, in this location right here. That's where it turns. So I believe this whole area right here, we're going to see more earthquakes in this region right here. And because what happened in August, we're going to see more earthquakes in this region as well. So something is going on, and I know what it is. And the other thing, what I notice is the USGS is doing a soft disclosure with the loud booms that are being heard throughout the world. And I read an article on it, and they act like they know absolutely nothing on what's taking place, and they're calling it a phenomenon. Really. Look, I'm going to explain something. The United States does not have any bases in Africa, ladies and gentlemen, and they're reporting them in Africa. Okay, and all along the United States, all along throughout the whole United States, it's being reported now. Okay, it's also being reported right here in South America, Brazil, Colombia. These regions are reporting it, and you can see the equator right here. So they are in denial, or they're trying to give us a soft disclosure. Pick one. I was here in New Mexico when one happened. It shook the ground, okay? Now, sonic boom will not shake the ground, ladies and gentlemen, okay? It was not a sonic boom, and these are not sonic booms that's being heard throughout America. Now, USGS is full of big stuff. They're not going to tell us, but it could be a soft disclosure, okay? But anyhow, let's get started with the other locations of the earthquakes. Before we get started, I'd like to comment. The sonic booms, you can feel it in the air, but not on the Earth's crust, not on the surface. And they are not blowing up underground facilities or bunkers. Okay, the government's not doing that, ladies and gentlemen. So I just wanted to share that with you. But also, we're going to start right here in this area of the United States. We're going to cover some diverse places, and then we're going to move around quite a bit. And I'm going to bring this in here so you can see what I'm talking about. And we're going to focus on the New Madrid. That's these lines right here. This is the New Madrid fault line. This fault line is the Madrid fault line. Okay, so there's two fault lines. As you can see, it goes all the way up into Canada, the northeast part of the United States. But what we're going to focus on today is two areas. November the 21st, yesterday, they had a 2.4 right here in this location. Right here. And it was approximately 2 kilometers. So that's about a mile. And that's very, very shallow. Okay? So we're starting to see more and more earthquakes in diverse places. We covered this one last week. On the 16th, it was a 2.2. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. It occurred right here in South Carolina. And then this one, the 2.5, November the 21st, right here in this region of Virginia, right along the state line of Tennessee. So we're going to keep an eye on these areas, and here's the one on the 16th, and it was a 2.2, and it was 5 kilometers. And this is the region here that has taken place, and they're only 5.1, 5.7 area. And then Georgia had the 2.2 back in August. Tennessee had a 2.2. But we're going to focus right here on the New Madrid fault line. Now, some of you are very aware. I received some comments. Hey, Jim, 4.0 took place in Missouri. And it was 16 kilometers. I reported on that last week. But this is what I want to show you. Right here. This location. Now this is Reelfoot Lake. This is where the Mississippi River flowed backwards back in the 1800s for 3 days. But it was a 1.6, that was 4 kilometers. And then there was multiples. There was a 1.3, 7 kilometers, another 1.39, and right there 1.0 at 5 kilometers. And the 2.5 that took place in Missouri was 16 kilometers. That was an aftershock. And then the 4 was 16 kilometers as well. And then in Arkansas, they received a 2.9. I'm going to bring this up so you can see that area. Right here. A 2.9 was recorded on the 18th, and it was 8 kilometers. And this is the Madrid fault line. This is the New Madrid fault lines. Okay, so keep that in mind. And I made a statement that what's going to happen is, from what I see, these earthquakes are coming down through here, and this is a fault line that runs right through Oklahoma. And this is what Oklahoma is receiving now, as you can see. The indications are approximately 1.2, to the highest, which is a 2.2 and a 2.3 right here, and that occurred on the 21st yesterday, and it was only 3 kilometers. Now what's strange is what's going on in Texas. This is a fault line that does run through Texas, and they received a 2.1 on the 16th that was 3 kilometers, and a 2.2 that was 5 kilometers on the 19th. And as you can see, we're getting more and more indications running up here towards this area of Texas. As you can see, I've been tracking it for months. This is in August, and then this whole region is starting to see more. This is Lubbock, Texas right here. Okay, so I'm gonna have to start tracking these. This is a 3.5, 7 kilometers, and they're getting more and more in this area. As you can see with the state line of New Mexico, it's all around in this area right here. Now Colorado is starting to get a little bit of activity. That's just a 1.3 back on yesterday on the 21st, and you know, a lot of people, hey, it's just a 1.3, it's no big deal. Well, they don't know what they're talking about, because it's an indication. These started out as a 1.0 about a year ago, 2 years ago, and you can see the indications there. And then I covered Yellowstone last week, and I showed the dead trees, and this was a 1.9 that on the 16th, and it's very shallow, only a half mile. And so Yellowstone is getting a lot of activities, and you know, they're just not recording them all. Mary Greeley talks about it a lot, and this is the area, and they're just not recording them. And I'm not going to put them all up here because it's going to just build up this whole area, and they're not giving us the truth. They're not giving us what is really taking place in that region. The USGS, they're not doing it. Okay, now Mount Rainier had a 1.3 that was very shallow, only a half mile, 1 kilometer. And I'm going to bring this in to show you the locations. So here we are. This is the 1.3 right here on the southern part, and it was, like I said, it was only 1 kilometer. And then on the 16th in that region, they had a 1.5. That's this one right here, and they're very shallow. Okay, so that's telling me that the volcano is starting to become very active. This one was approximately 5 miles, 10 kilometers in that area. And I covered Mount Rainier last week. I don't want to spend much time on it. It's basically a rotten tooth. And if it blows, I made a statement what's going to happen to all of this area, actually more than that area. I'm going to bring this back out a little bit. If that volcano goes, and I'm going to bring this back up to the north so you can see what I'm talking about. This whole area right here is going to be set on fire. And for people that lives in these areas, which is very few, they're not going to be able to evacuate. And it's possible it could even go that far. Okay. Now this is Seattle. So it could go that far out. And with all the forests, it would set that whole area on fire. And then we did have a 1.1 right here off Mount St. Helens. In this area, it's not marked, but that area right there, we had a 1.1. But what I noticed when I got to the map a couple of days ago, look right here. Okay, the 20th, both of these took place in the 20th, and this is where the hydrothermal vents are at. But you can see there's more and more indications. On the 10th, there was a 3.3 back in October, a 3.0. September at 3.4, and then August at 3.4, but a 4.6. Now this is the first time since I've been watching this area a magnitude 4 has taken place. And I want to cover this area, and I want to take you to watch about an 8-minute video on the hydrothermal vents. I think you will find it very educational. So let's check out this video, shall we?
The Endeavour area of the Juan de Fuca Ridge is a seismically active area of seafloor formation and hydrothermal venting. The Endeavour hydrothermal vent area is located 250 kilometers offshore from Vancouver Island, 2,250 meters below the ocean surface. The area has been a popular research site for more than 20 years. From this area, researchers strive to uncover secrets of the formation of Earth's tectonic plates and chemosynthetic food webs. They also seek a potential glimpse of the origins of life on our planet, and perhaps its origins on others. On March 4, 2003, the Endeavour Hydrothermal Vent Marine Protected Area was officially designated under Canada's Oceans Act. Endeavour fulfills criteria for marine protected area establishment as identified in the Oceans Act, such as conservation and protection of unique habitats in marine areas of high biodiversity and productivity. Globally, hydrothermal venting systems foster numerous unique species of animals. There are some 60 distinct species native to the Juan de Fuca Ridge. Many of these species are the first in the world to be identified. Hydrothermal vents at Endeavour are home to 12 species that do not exist anywhere else in the world. An organism from this site holds the current record for the upper temperature limit to life, 121 degrees Celsius. Let's explore just how hydrothermal vents are formed and the amazing life that thrives deep beneath the surface in the Endeavour Marine Protected Area.
Hydrothermal vents are located at mid-ocean ridges, so picture it as seams along a baseball. And when you go away from these seams, it's almost like the desert. There's not really much life there. It's called the abyssal plain, so it just looks like that's going on and on and on. When you get closer to these little seams on the baseball, at the hydrothermal vents, you see an abundance of life. Hydrothermal vents form when two plates are separating away from each other and new crust from the Earth's center starts migrating upwards. You'll have water that percolates through this really super hot crust, and from pressure and both temperature, it'll come back up and start precipitating these minerals out once it reaches that cold seafloor. So you'll get these precipitations slowly start forming these hydrothermal chimneys, and once the temperatures as well as the right conditions are available for new animals, they'll start colonizing these hydrothermal vents.
So we can go from a volcanic eruption that essentially flattens everything to the beginnings of a vent ecosystem with a number of species within less than a year.
They're at depths usually between 1,500 meters to up to 4,000 meters below the sea surface. So basically no sun can penetrate these environments. It's in complete darkness. The ambient seawater is usually about 2 degrees at those depths, but at these hydrothermal vents, you're getting these, just like picture underwater volcanoes. They're spewing out these hot vent fluids that are up to 400 degrees Celsius in some cases. They're extremely toxic, so you have hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, methane. So for you and I, there's no way we'd be able to survive at these hydrothermal vents.
You're on an underwater volcano where there's absolutely nothing alive, and then boom, you come across this little oasis of life with color, reds, blues, and animals you've never seen before. Everything we brought up had never been seen by a scientist before. Bottom few hundred meters of water contains millions of larvae of vent animals that have been released by vent ecosystems in the surrounding area. These larvae are constantly urgently looking for a new place to settle down. They detect the vent environment, they come in, settle down on the seafloor, and transform into juveniles and then adult animals. And they can colonize in a matter of months. Most of the animals that live there are unusually tolerant of high temperatures, toxic hydrogen sulfide, and even heavy metals. There's a really limited number of species that can colonize hydrothermal vents, but those that can really cut it do really well. We find incredible biomass in this environment, even though there are a very small number of species. Some of the more common animals at hydrothermal vents in the North Pacific are the giant tube worms. These are large worms that can be up to 2 meters in length. They have no mouth, no digestive system. The only way that they can exchange anything with the outside world is through their gills.
They survive by this symbiotic relationship with bacteria. And essentially what they do is they uptake this bacteria into an internal organ called the trophosome. And the trophosome houses all these bacteria. And if you have seen a picture of a tube worm, they have these red bushy plumes at the anterior portion of their body, and they uptake these dissolved gases, which are toxic to you and I. So it'd be hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, as well as oxygen. And essentially this feeds the internal bacteria that provide the sole and only nutrition for the tube worms. Hydrothermal vents are a highly ephemeral environment, and by ephemeral I mean it's very dynamic. Vents are shutting off and then turning back on and starting up in a new location, or even vents can shut off and then turn back on again at the same location later on. So life itself at these vents that are turning off usually end up collapsing or dying, but then you'll see them pop up at these new hydrothermal vents and recolonize new areas. So it's very dynamic and it's constantly circling around. As they die out, they'll recolonize new vents again. So there's a working hypothesis right now that hydrothermal vents was the site of origin of life on Earth. The location or the habitat provides the necessary biogeochemical processes as well as the composition of the habitat for life to originate, but it's still highly unknown how that started, and more research does need to be done.
Since its discovery in 1982, the Endeavour hydrothermal vents have been a focus of research by Canadian and international scientists. As a consequence of its location offshore and its special ecosystem, scientific researchers are the primary group interested in this area. However, the beauty and mystery surrounding Endeavour naturally captivates the imagination of both researchers and the general public alike. The Endeavour Hydrothermal Vents Marine Protected Area has been designated to ensure the protection of these hydrothermal vents and the unique ecosystem associated with them. The regulation to establish the Marine Protected Area prohibits the removal, disturbance, damage, or destruction of the venting structures, or the marine organisms associated with them. The scientific research conducted in this Marine Protected Area contributes to the understanding of the hydrothermal vent ecosystem, and could possibly reveal secrets surrounding the origins of life on Earth, and even its origin on other planets.
Well, hope you enjoyed the video. It was very educational, but that's what I'm saying. I've never seen a 4.4 that took place back on the 20th, just a couple of days ago, and a 4.6 in these areas. And that's approximately this area right here. If you can see, right there, there's a 2.6. That was 10 kilometers today, okay? And that area right here, as you can see, if I bring this in, you can see where the plate makes the change in that direction. It comes up in here, and these earthquakes here are in this region, and a 2.6 took place right here in this area. So a lot's going on, and we're going to slide down here to the Baja Peninsula, which this is very important, what I'm about to show you. I covered some of it on the last update, and this is what I found out. The 20th, 2 days ago, a 3.7, okay, right there. Also a 3.3, and it's very shallow. That's only 3 kilometers, ladies and gentlemen, and the 3.3 was the same day, 5 kilometers. That was an aftershock. But what's got me concerned is this area right here. A 4.4, a 4.5 right here, a 4.2, 4.1 on the 19th. That's these right here. And the 4.5 was 10 kilometers, just 5 miles down. That's not very much. And then right here, we had a 4.4 on the 18th in this area, and it was 10 kilometers. But what's got me interested in this area is the 3.3 that took place over here in this area, right here. Now, that just happened a few minutes ago, right here, because I don't have it, and I just updated this map before this video production got started. And that is 18 kilometers, so that just occurred right there. And then, if you look at what happened on the 10th, a 2.3, a 3.2, 1.6, and over here in this area on the 14th, the 3.0, the 3.2 right here in this area that occurred on the 18th, right here in this area, and then a 1.6 right there. But the 3.2 on the 18th was 13 kilometers. So I'm very concerned because what I'm seeing is that this area right here, from right here, the New Madrid fault line runs right up through here. Okay, this is it right here. And then it goes into the Salton Sea. But what I'm seeing right now with the 4.2, that this area is starting to change and come across. You see what I'm saying? So this is all a new area right here. I've never seen it there before. And if you cruise down here to South America, which you can see here, it's not stopping. Okay. Now Guatemala has 3 very, very large earthquakes. This is a 4.9 that took place on the 17th. It's very deep, 106 kilometers, about 60 miles deep. So this whole area is not stopping. And then if you look at what's going on with the Pacific, that's happening down in this region, up in here, and then what took place, the 4.6, which is here, and it was very deep at 65 kilometers. That's very unusual. Usually it will be on the plate, the South Pacific plate area, and then we had a 4.7 that took place yesterday on the 21st. You see my point? It's like every day something is taking place along this fault line. This is a major tectonic plate right here pushing against the South African plate. Now, these earthquakes here, I've been tracking them. I remember when there was mostly 3s, 3.5s, 4.0 like in this one, and then 4.5, 4.4, 4.3, 4.7, or 4.9. We're starting to see more and more activity in this area, and the numbers increasing. And I was told to keep your eye on South America when you start seeing them increase, and these numbers will start here first, and then they'll go to South America, and we're starting to see it. That's a 5.2 that took place on the 18th at 10 kilometers. So we're going to start seeing Central America go into 5s. We're already seeing this area right here of Baja going into 4s. And when it goes into 5s, I'm going to get very concerned. We have a 5.6 right here back in September. A 5.3 right here in the 5th of September. So they're already starting to increase. And I'm concerned. I kid you not, I'm very concerned, because this, I'm going to show you something. The San Andreas goes right through here, okay? Now it breaks right here, right through here, and it joins right there in that area, okay? But what I see is the San Andreas, when it comes up through here, it goes right up through this ridge right here. And approximately right here in this area, it breaks off. And it ties into the Cascade subduction zone, okay? But also, it continues. It continues from this area to here, and it continues upward in these regions. So you can see what I'm talking about. Now this is just an estimate. I'm probably going to go ahead and put the San Andreas Fault on here, but it goes right up through here. Okay? Right up through here. So what I'm getting at is we're going to see more activity in this area. Now this region here, I'm going to zoom in for you so you can see what I'm talking about, which you can't hardly see it because all the indications. This area here, right here in this area, is this region right here, okay? And it's going to have more and more activity in that area, okay? And that's this area right here. And this is Lake Tahoe, where it has hydrothermal vents taking place in that region. As you can see, I already got it flagged. Lake Tahoe. No earthquakes in the last few days in that area. So I'm getting concerned because the other day when I saw these new earthquakes, especially the one at the magnetic north, you know, I find it very impressive. Okay, we did have a new one that was a magnitude 3.0 November the 20th in that area, and of course, you know, Alaska's not going to stop. And then if you look at what's taking place here with Mount Kilauea, it's not going to stop either. Now, Mount Kilauea is right here in this region. But look at the indications throughout the island, okay? And they did have a 6.2 back in October. Right here in this area. That's a large earthquake, and it's not related to the volcano. And this is a ridge right here, as you can see. We're going to slide over here towards this area. This is Russia right here, and they did have a 4.3, 4.6 in these regions. And what's interesting is this area right here. I have noticed that they're going from 4s into 5s now in this whole area, as you can see. Now this one right here, this 5.0, took place 2 days ago. I don't have it marked, but I definitely going to mark it because it was over here on the side. As you can see, this is the major tectonic plate, and they're not stopping. This area right here, these are all underwater volcanoes. There's approximately 4,300 throughout the world. We're going to move over here to the Philippines. We have a lot of subscribers there. And this all took place. This was a 5.4 on the 19th in this area. And it's always the same region right here, as you can see. 4.3 on the 19th right here. a 5.3, that's this one right here, a 4.2, 4.0 right here in the same region, and that was on the 19th at 60 kilometers. And if we slide over here, this is where the 6.2 that occurred back on the 18th. We had a 6.4 back in October the 15th. And that's this area right here. The 6.2 on the 18th. So we're starting to see them. This is a 4, a 5, and a 5. 5.3 on the 17th. 5.4 on the 18th. And this is the area of Lagini. And as we slide downward, you can see these areas here. That's a 4.9. I do have that one flagged. But this was a 6.1 back in October, a 5.1. And these are the new ones right here in this region of 4.3. That was, excuse me, this is a 4.9. The 4.3, I get to it here in just a moment. A 5.6 back in October. 5.6 right here on the 20th, just a couple days ago. That's this one right here. And this fault line right here, like I made a statement, I'm looking for it to change directions, and I'm going to show you why. It can go in two different directions. It looks like more of the indications are starting to come down south of Fuji. These areas on the 19th, right here in this area, a 4.9 took place, and it was on the 18th, and it was 109 kilometers. That's very, very deep. Also a 5.3, 133 kilometers. This one here is the 5.6. That's over here, and it was 127 kilometers. So let me explain something. When you get them that deep, this is telling me somewhere along here in the next couple weeks, we're going to probably see a magnitude 6 in this whole area right here. And I'm looking for earthquakes to go up here, but right now it looks like this plate is having a lot of indications. And to have them that deep, you know, I believe anytime you see them that deep and they're a 4 or a 5, that means this area right here is going to get a 6. Just a matter of time right here in this area. It's just a matter of time. What's going on with New Zealand? As you can see, it's not stopping. That's all of these right here. September we had a 6. Had another one September the 7th, another 6. Back on the 21st, we had a 6. November the 11th, we had a 5.0. So these areas are not stopping either. And this fault line comes right down through here, and it splits and goes on the other side of New Zealand. We have a lot of wonderful subscribers there. What this is right here, as you can see, this area is volcanoes. All of this down through here. You can see what I'm talking about, right? We're going to slide over here briefly to the South Sandwich area. There was a 5 recorded, and I'm going to bring this around. A 5.2 was recorded at 36 kilometers, and that was today. In this area, it's getting congested. Okay, I can barely find what I'm looking for because there's getting to be so many of them. But right here in this area, we'll bring this north was a 5.2. And the last update I stated that this area right here, we're going to start seeing indications going from the west to the east. In November the 20th at 4.9. So now I'm starting to see that we're gonna see more and more along this area and possibly down here in this area or this area. It's gonna make its decision, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna follow south towards the Antarctic. Now, what's been going on? I covered it. As you can see, you don't see any earthquakes in the last 7 days because I covered it. But this area back on the 12th of November, a 5.8, 5.8, 4.9, 4.8, 4.5 in this area. And on the 10th, a 4.9, 4.9 as well. And then I covered all of this. What is very unusual is what took place in Scotland. That's a 3.1 that took place right there on the edge towards the water. That is very, very unusual. We have a lot of wonderful subscribers in the UK, Ireland, Scotland, and people say, you know, all of this is the UK. Okay, if you go to Ireland and tell them you're from England and all of this is the UK, you're probably going to get in argument. Okay, as well as Scotland. Those people were very protected over their country before it was taken over. What took place last week in Iran is this area right here. I'm going to bring it north for you. We have a new one on the 14th and 16th. This area, this is the new one on the 18th, 4.4, 4.2. And these are the aftershocks. A 4.3 that took place on the 16th was 10 kilometers, very shallow. 4.4 on the 18th, 10 kilometers as well. It's very shallow. We're going to move to the Mediterranean, and where we had a 4.1 right there in Italy on the 17th. This is very unusual. This is a fault line. Okay, let me explain. This is a fault line that goes right down through here. Okay, so it's right off of that area. It's only about 30 miles actually. And this fault line comes right down through here, and it goes right by Mount Etna right there. Also, we had a 4.4 in this region. Right here, a 4.4, 4.8. This is them right here, and that occurred on the 19th, and it's approximately 14 kilometers. And then this is very unusual, but it's happened before. A 4.8 in this area, and there was a large earthquake about 3 months ago in this area. I believe it was a magnitude 6 or 7. So I'm going to do some research and see if there's a fault line that runs up through here. Also, November the 19th, a 5.1 that took place, and it was very shallow, only 5 miles or 10 kilometers, about 6 miles really. And that's this area here. And then I already covered this at 4.4 on November the 11th. And then a 5.1 took place on the 20th in this area right here. This is Turkey along this area in Georgia. As far as what's happening in Indonesia and Malaysia, this area right here, A 4.9 took place on the 19th, and it was 10 kilometers. Right here in this area, I don't have it marked. 4.7 took place right there. If you can see, these are two islands, and it's approximately the same area right here. And this is a major tectonic plate right here. This is South India. All this region right here, I'm keeping my eye on it now, and I'm going to show you why. Look at this. November the 16th, a 4.2 right here. And it was very, very deep, 148 kilometers. That's about 80 miles. And then a 4.4 on the today, the 22nd, a 4.9 November the 18th, my birthday, 4.3 November the 19th, and 4.8 on the 15th. So what's got me interested, this is a small fault line that runs right here. It's not a major tectonic plate. I should have covered it a while ago while we was in that area, but I'm just sweeping around and trying to get the best I can on these areas. But I want to let you know something, and then we're going to finish this out, okay? And I want you to hear me out. I've made this statement before, and it's not stopping. And if you know people that lives in this area of the San Andreas Fault, this whole area right here, of course, good luck on trying to get them to move out and get out of there. And I'm just going to tell you what I was told. That that keep your eye on South America, like I said, and you start seeing them go from 4 to 5s to 6. When we start seeing these go into 6, I'm cautioning you, you better get out of there, okay? You better get out. And this is what I was told. That once a 2.5 to a 3 around the Salton Sea takes place for 5 minutes. Listen, they don't last 5 minutes. That's a low magnitude. He said it won't be any earthquakes for approximately 24 to 48 hours, and then it will be a magnitude 8.5 to a 9.5, possibly a 10. Okay? And this whole area right here is going to be affected. And what he told me, if you watch the movie 2012 where it showed the plate shifting at a 40-degree angle, this whole area right here shifting and falling into the Pacific Ocean, he said it's not going to be over exaggerated. Look, pre-crust displacement is taking place, ladies and gentlemen, in this whole region. I already covered it, and I told everyone, okay? The United States geologists are in this region, and they sent a seismograph activity truck in there. And what they was doing, it was bouncing sound waves. They use it in the oil and gas industry. And they came up with thousands of fault lines down through here that was very small. But that means pre-crust displacement is taking place, ladies and gentlemen. Do you follow what I'm saying? Okay? Listen to me. If you're in California and you're watching this video, I'm going to let you know the best I can. When we start seeing these 4s turn to 5s and these 5s turn to 6, and it goes right up in here in the Salton Sea, you probably got 24 hours to get yourself out of that region. And I'm going to make an important announcement about it. But people ain't going to listen to you. Right? They ain't going to listen. I don't know what to tell you. Continue to pray for them. But look at this. This was not like that. This whole area was not like this 4 months ago. They was all 2s and 3s, okay? We have 1.5 right here, back in September. Now we're pushing 38.5 degrees on that magnetic reversal, and we're starting to see a change, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not. This whole area is fixing to go to 5s. You can see right there, that's a 4.4 right there. A 5 right here. We're already starting to see it. But this is fixing to change. These are going to 5s. And what you see right here on the Baja Peninsula that are 3s right now, okay, you just wait and see. If they don't go to 4s and 5s, and then this whole area, you can forget it. It's going to go. It's going to fall into the ocean. And I don't know what to tell you anymore. I really don't. I have done my best to warn people, but people don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. But I believe the people listening around the New Madrid fault line, God bless them. They're concerned about it. But this ain't stopping. And I'm telling you, I'm concerned. I'm concerned. And now I'm starting to see indications here in the land of enchantment. I covered that, didn't I? About the volcanoes. Listen to me. You can try your best to talk to your friends and family that live in California. But they're not going to listen, are they? Maybe a few. I met a wonderful gentleman in Kamado when I was fueling up. And I said, you ought to go to my channel, Earth Changers channel. He says, oh, you're the guy that the generator went down, right? I said, how did you know that? He said, I have wonderful friends up in Washington, Oregon that told me about you. Guess what? He's buying property in Daddle, New Mexico. Daddle. Okay? And his friends from Oregon and Washington, they're coming too. He bought area right here. Daddle, New Mexico. Because of Earth Changes channel. Isn't that interesting? They're paying attention, ladies and gentlemen. They are paying attention. That was a God thing. What is the odds to be in a little bitty tiny town like Kamado and met someone that was from Oregon? And I was just talking about Eugene because he used to live there. And I showed him my channel and he said, oh, you're the guy. And I said, what guy? The generator went down. How'd you know that? How did you know that? Okay. But I'm telling you, you better start thinking about these areas. Daddle, Pie Town, Kamado. I recommend you start thinking about these areas and get out of heavy populated areas as soon as possible. So let's finish this out, shall we? Thank you. The only thing you can do is pray for your loved ones. I have tried and tried to talk to people about California, and they don't want to listen, and they're not going to move out because of money. They don't have the funds, or they're stuck in the matrix so deep they can't get out. But please don't give up on them. Jesus Christ hasn't given up on you, has he? I would come to the Lord and prepare yourself spiritually. That's the purpose of Earth Changes channel and Deep Truth Deep Impact, as well as the real Precursor, to prepare yourself for what is about to take place. These events are not going away. They are not. And we're pushing 38.5 degrees on the magnetic north, and I said months ago, when we get there, everything's about to change. But please continue in prayer and be strong, everyone. And may the Heavenly Father continue to watch over you and your loved ones. And thank you for your prayers and your support. And this is the time to be strong. This is not the time to lay down. God bless everyone. Be safe. Much love with many blessings.